What Rahul just demonstrated, and demonstrated really well, is, as he said, he has a soul of a rugby player, a heart of an actor. But what he really demonstrated is he has a mind of a great humane leader. A leader who has tremendous courage. And why I say courage is because I'm sure it takes a lot of courage to come amongst techies and call Steve Jobs a terrible leader. But Rahul, thanks for displaying that, yes, it is that courage which is also necessary for leaders to sometimes do what they do. What Rahul also did for us is he showed that power and capabilities that are within you, that make you a great rugby player, a great director, the same very power can be harnessed for transforming lives. And that is the connect that I'm going to use as we dig into our next session. Even today, almost 40% of our people in these emerging worlds that we come from are not literate. 60 crore, almost half of India's population, and a similar percentage of population in Africa don't share the spoils of growth. They don't even have access to basic banking, basic insurance. Safety and security, we know, is becoming a concern not just for organization, but our day-to-day living as well. And if there is anything that Anna Hazare movement has achieved, is it has heightened deficit of trust, the trust deficit that exists, and the heightened need for transparency in governance. So there is a lot more to be done. And it is these challenges that we live in really set our socio-economic context. Quite often as businesses and organizations, we think that our job is, only create shareholder value. Let's grow sales, let's grow profits, let's create shareholder value. However, all of that shareholder value has to be created in certain socio-economic context. Transparency is now getting demanded thanks to social media, where journalism is all out in public. Transparency is now a demand. And what's also happening around us is the developed world, which is where almost 75 to 80% of world's wealth still resides, is actually producing lesser and lesser people. And hence, it's us, literally the nations out here, Middle East, most of the countries in Africa and India are the only ones where there is a population growth. And what that means is not only do we have to cater to challenges that we have, but we also have to cater to the requirements of the rest of the world. So we are going to live in a world, our next decade and the decades thereafter, where we have to be the talent factory for the world. And that means war on talent, high attritions, and whatever we hear every day is not something that's going to go away very soon. What is the role of us as leaders in organizations that use technology going to be? Technology is going to be the big catalyst in all of this. What is really fueling all of this is what's at the center of that fulcrum that you see, which is a technology inflection that all of us are facing. I think we are living in a world where while there are all of these challenges, there is something very exciting happening in the world of technology. We are seeing broadband revolution come our way in the emerging markets. Just to speak of India, last year, India ended with less than a crore, less than 10 million broadband connections, high-speed broadband connections. Next 5 years, that number is expected to go 20 times. We are looking at that number becoming 200 million. What that is resulting in is a world that is always connected, solutions that are always connected, and hence, it's likely to also spin the next point that you see there, which is a revolution around mobility, where personal computing the way it existed, or computers the way they have existed in organizations, are probably going to go away over a period of time, or get replaced with certain more mobile, always connected devices over a period of time. What it is also enabling is more and more things being done remotely, more and more things being done in a shared manner, and hence it's also creating a revolution around cloud computing. All of this in some shape or form, we as organizations have used in our organization. We've used it to deliver shareholder value. Whether it is dealing with war on talent, hopefully using HCL's remote infrastructure management, or whether it is to reduce CapEx and OpEx cost or whether you've used it in form of mobility for field force automation. There are applications used for know your customer formalities. There are applications that have been used for field force automation so that your technician who goes to service your car or service your equipment out there in the field, that technician is always connected with the central control center, and hence the interaction is real time, call resolution is real time. We are doing all of this. We are addressing all of these questions ahead of us. But the real question is, while we are addressing this, how do we do all of this? How can we use the same power that this technology brings to transform lives by addressing some of the challenges that I talked about at the start of the session? So next few minutes, I'm really going to spend to share with you some of those transformations, and some of those transformations where HCL as an organization has been privileged to be a part of. One such one that's underway is achieving inclusive growth. I spoke about 60 crore, 600 million of India's population not having access to banking or insurance. As a result, 30% of India's farm households are indebted to some sahukar, some informal form of banking. And why is that? Because if you have to take bank in every rural part of India, at times, cost per transaction is 40 to 50% of that person's daily income. Technology is helping us solve that by taking the bank to the customer and making the access easier and cheaper. There are a number of products that the industry has developed, whether it is business correspondent model enabled by business correspondent terminals, or rural ATMs which operate without reliable power, without air conditioning, and at a fraction of a cost of what a normal ATM operates. Or what partners of our events such as Nokia have in terms of Nokia Money, mobile as a form of actually doing the payment transaction. Because we may not have ATMs and bank branches everywhere, but we do have very high mobile penetration, even in our below poverty line population. HCL, fortunately, is working with many of the partners in doing this transformation. We are right now engaged in about 200 districts, 20,000 villages, working with 30 different banks and cooperative banks to bring 15 million, 1.5 crore of our below poverty line people into this entire inclusive growth phenomenon. Second challenge, where again the same technology that gets used to do remote infrastructure management also gets used to create knowledge workers. Government spends 20,000 crores, $5 billion a year under Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan to build brick and mortar schools. You will build a number of schools, but where would you get quality teachers? Technology, again, helps us solve that problem. You can package the content of the best-in-class schools and make it available. Technology also helps us take this content remotely. State of Tamil Nadu actually is running a project with us where it has engaged us to set up ICT infrastructure where coaching can be delivered remotely to weaker sections of society. In Gujarat, there is a program that is being run for tribal schools, I think some 14 or 15,000 tribal schools, where quality education is being delivered remotely to those schools. And again, technology is coming to solve the problem of ensuring that the delivery is happening properly. And today, about 1,000 schools is where we have been able to touch lives of about 20 lakh, 2 million students by way of some of this technology-enabled knowledge solutions. Third way in which technology is helping our lives better is creating safety and security for loved ones. There was a lot of noise, there was a lot of ruckus and a lot of controversy around Commonwealth Games that happened in the country. Entire world's attention was on our country because there were a lot of controversies around it that we are not going to be ready. And the entire environment was ripe and looking for any issue, any security lapse, so that it would have been broadcast to the world. But none of that happened and games went flawlessly. That is because we, in the state of Delhi, created a world-class security infrastructure. There are over 4,000 cameras at 33 critical locations that are monitored centrally through a central control room. There are thousands of policemen who are carrying radio devices that are activated centrally. There is Dial 100 system which is hooked up with this. Traffic police is coordinated with this. Good part is, many of us are now using this technology also in our organizations. Fourth area where again technology is getting used to transform our lives is in healthcare. Finally, that's going to be a healthy nation is required if we want to be a prosperous nation. National AIDS Control Organization wanted to ensure that all over the country, they create a network where if somebody has AIDS and has been given an identifier, like a biometric smart card, is able to access this subsidized healthcare very, very efficiently and effectively without having to go through the trouble. They wanted to create a nationwide system to deliver this healthcare service effectively. Or in the private sector, a healthcare chain in India wants to make 25, 30 hospitals to start with, but their vision is to go to 100 hospitals to make affordable healthcare available to all. And in doing so, again, they're using technology to eliminate all non-value added activities. They want to outsource all those non-value added activities. They want to also implement technology where they can share some of the traditional things that are done in-house by using cloud, whatever cloud computing I spoke of earlier, to actually make healthcare affordable to everybody. Again, this is something that's happening in front of us. And the last area where technology is going to help transform our lives is enabling transparent and effective governance. There are a number of municipal corporations in the country today which are taking all of the citizen services, whether it's a birth certificate, whether it's a death certificate, whether it's a road tax, it's a vehicle registration, hundreds of citizen services that you have to interact with the government for are being digitized, are being put on cloud so that they are made available on demand. Or the public distribution system, which very often gets faulted for the leakages which are there in the system, is getting transformed by actually having an e-public distribution system, where every family, below poverty line family, record of that is getting maintained. The entire food delivery supply chain is getting automated to make sure that there is no leakage in the system and there is a full reconciliation of any food grain that got delivered at subsidized rate and the fulfillment of that happened at the fair price shop. Again, this is happening in a number of states. We are doing this with Madhya Pradesh government, we are doing this in Haryana, and there are many others who are doing in other states. So in conclusion, what I want to say is there are many challenges. There are many peaks yet to conquer. There are many things that when we read the newspapers, when we see the TV, that make us feel sad. But we have the power and we have the capability within our grasp today to really transform and address those challenges. So as we spend these 2 days here networking, getting some ideas on how we'll create shareholder value, let's also go out of this session energized and reinvigorated about how we can use the same ideas that we are going to use in our business to transform our lives.